Chapter 91 The Spy Surfaced. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing their guys dropping like flies, Jean Lang and Li Daban were both reeling. Daban, Jean Lang said, "Are you sure you want to keep this going?" Li Daban shot back, "Your Golden Wolf gang started this mess. You gotta pay for the damage, or we're not backing down." Jean Lang sighed, frustrated. Who even knows who's right anymore? Let's just call it quits. Even if you win, you think you can hold Linxian City? The other two gangs will gobble you up the second you get a foothold. But Li Daban wasn't buying it. You started this, Jean Lang. My guys are getting hammered. You think we can just walk away? Let's stop fighting, then we can talk about compensation. Jean Lang offered. Nope. First, tell me how you're gonna make things right. Seeing Li Daban wouldn't budge, Jean Lang changed tactics. The more I think about it, the fishier that knife thrower seems. My guys wouldn't move without my say-so. He paused, then continued. I'm betting someone from another gang infiltrated us and kicked this whole thing off. Li Daban just scoffed. Try harder, Jean Lang. You're dreaming if you think I'll buy that. Jean Lang gritted his teeth. Fine, Daban, we'll check it out right now. If there's no spy, and one of my guys really started it, the Golden Wolf gang covers all the losses. Li Daban eyed him skeptically. Easy to say. Jean Lang's face hardened. Jean Lang's word is his bond. When have I ever broken a promise? Are you too dense to remember? So, you're saying this promise is rock solid? Li Daban considered it. Jean Lang was a tough guy, but he usually kept his word. Alright, I'll take your word for it this time. Tell your guys to stand down. Jean Lang finally breathed a sigh of relief. He nodded. I'll count to 3. We both yelled, "Stop," at the same time. Jean Lang said. Okay. Li Daban agreed. 3. 2. Stop. They both yelled, the shouts echoed through the crowd. Hearing their leaders, everyone froze, looking towards Jean Lang and Li Daban. The two men backed off, keeping a wary distance. Smart move. These gang wars were brutal, and even with a truce called, nobody was going to pass up a free shot. Jean Lang bellowed, "Golden Wolves, get over here and help the injured." Li Daban gave the same order. Li Daban turned to Jean Lang. Alright, Jean Lang, you're up. Jean Lang, seeing the damage, vowed to make whoever was responsible pay dearly. He glared at the crowd. Who threw that knife without my orders? Step forward now. Everyone avoided eye contact. Jean Lang was about to speak when one of his guys pointed. Boss, he did it. All eyes turned to the accused, who panicked and bolted. That sealed it for Jean Lang. Definitely a plant. He hurled a knife, hitting the guy in the leg. The other wolves reacted, grabbing the guy and dragging him before Jean Lang. The guy knew he was done for. One of the wolves spoke up, "Now I remember." He was yelling the loudest during the fight, but hiding in the back. Figures he was a spy. The realization hit everyone. Seeing their brothers dead because of this guy, they were furious. Tear him apart. Jean Lang, understanding their rage, held up a hand for silence. He'll pay. And so will the people pulling his strings. He grabbed the spy and shoved him towards Li Daban. Li Daban, you believe me now? Someone was trying to get us to kill each other. Now, not only did the Golden Wolves hate the guy, but Li Daban's gang was ready to tear him limb from limb too. Li Daban stomped on the guy's chest. Who told you to do this? Knowing he was finished, the spy bit his tongue and killed himself before anyone could stop him. Jean Lang, staring at the dying man, snarled, "You think this is over? I'll find everyone connected to you, and they'll wish they were never born." The spy, seemingly envisioning his loved ones suffering a similar fate, died in despair. But even with the spy dead, the situation was far from resolved. Li Daban said, "I'm taking the deed to the pharmacy." No way, Jean Lang said, refusing to concede. Now that we know you guys started the whole thing, it's only fair. We were already taking over the pharmacy. You butted in. We should be compensated. Li Daben heard Jean Lang's words. Sounds like we're about to throw down again. The air crackled with tension. Seeing a potential powder keg about to explode, Jean Lang tried to de-escalate. I propose we each send one guy inside. Whoever finds the deed, gets it. What do you say? Li Daben didn't want another fight that would only benefit others, so he agreed. They each chose a man to go inside the pharmacy and await the results. Time ticked by. Neither man came out, and no one knew what was going on inside. Both sides were stubborn. So they sent more men in, but the men sent in never came out. By the time they sent 6 men each, they knew something was wrong. Jean Lang said to Li Daben, I'm going in myself. You don't send anyone in. Li Daben also wanted to know what happened inside, but he only responded with haha. Jean Lang said meaningfully, do you have any other choice? None of your subordinates could beat me. Li Daben chuckled and said, then why are you asking me to go with you? If you're not here, who among these subordinates can stop me? Each leader knew the other was thinking. They quickly made arrangements for their respective gangs. The most important rule was that fighting was forbidden before they came out. Violators would be severely punished. Chapter 92. Don't worry, come one at a time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looking at the 12 guys lined up, Jean Lang and Li Daben were floored. They hadn't expected any survivors. Either they'd all been killed in the fight, or someone had taken them down after they thought the guy was dead. The 12, seeing their gang leaders arrive, were frozen. Their eyes darted around nervously. It was a comical sight. They were all sending the same message, don't be reckless, boss. Watch out for this guy. He's the real deal. Lin Yi had them terrified. Jean Lang and Li Daben asked at the same time, you're still alive? Lin Yi took a sip of tea, stood up, and said, surprised? Or maybe pleasantly surprised. Jean Lang stepped forward and said, I don't care if you're alive or dead. Just release our guy now. Lin Yi walked over to Jean Z, pointed at him, and asked, this your buddy? Jean Lang warned, what are you planning? I wouldn't do anything stupid if I were you. Lin Yi shuddered dramatically. Ooh, I'm so scared. Then, he suddenly slapped Jean Z in the chest, sending him flying toward Jean Lang. Here's your friend back. Hope he's in good shape. Jean Lang caught Jean Z and asked, Jean Z, you okay? But Jean Z didn't respond. His eyes were wide open, filled with fear and despair. Jean Lang then realized Jean Z was dead, his internal organs completely shattered. Seeing Jean Z's corpse, Jean Lang went ballistic. Jean Z was the brother who'd saved his life, his right-hand man since before the gang even existed. With Jean Z's help and advice over the years, the Golden Wolf gang had gradually grown into one of the most powerful outfits around. Jean Lang drew his sword and pointed it at Lin Yi, his face red with anger. You dared to kill him. Fine, I'll use your head to pay respects to Jean Z. He was about to attack, but Lin Yi held up a hand, calm as could be. Hold on a sec. You've still got a bunch of guys left. Don't you want to see who's still alive? I'll point them out, you confirm. If you don't answer, they're dead. Lin Yi walked up to the next guy. Before Lin Yi could speak, Li Daben blurted out, hey, that's one of our guys. Don't kill him by mistake. Lin Yi looked at Jean Lang and said, see how eager they are to help. Saves me the trouble. Then he said to Li Daben, you sure this guy is with you? Li Daben quickly said, yes, sir. I know all the guys in the gang. This one's definitely ours. No joke. Alright, just confirming. With that, Lin Yi struck again, another palm sending the guy flying towards Li Daben. Li Daben caught him, realized the man was dead, and said angrily, you. Lin Yi acted innocent. What's wrong? I just confirmed with you, and now I'm returning him to you. Jean Lang, seeing Li Daben's man meet the same fate, said, Li Daben, this guy is messing with us, killing off our guys one by one. Li Daben pulled out his club and said, you know this means war with both of our gangs, right? Do you know what the consequences are? Lin Yi blinked and asked with a glint in his eye, oh, tell me. What are the consequences? Jean Lang said, stop wasting time. Let's take him down together. Without waiting for Li Deben to agree, he charged at Lin Yi. Jean Lang was betting that Li Deben would make the smart choice, otherwise, he'd be screwed. Sure enough, when Jean Lang attacked, Li Deben was right behind him. He still couldn't get a good read on the kid. He couldn't confront him head-on, but now he had no choice. Jean Lang's blade was closing in on Lin Yi, but Lin Yi still hadn't moved. Jean Lang wondered if Lin Yi had just been putting on a show earlier and was now too scared to move. Jean Lang slashed his sword at Lin Yi's head. Seeing Jean Lang's move, Li Deben aimed his club at Lin Yi's legs and swept it out. With an attack from above and below, there was no room to dodge, but just as the knife and club were about to make contact with Lin Yi kicked Li Deben's club. The club spun out of Li Deben's control and smashed into another guy's head. There was a sickening thwack, and the man's skull shattered, brains splattering everywhere. It was a horrific sight. Turning to Jean Lang's sword, Lin Yi reached out and grabbed the blade. The force was so strong that Jean Lang couldn't hold on. He let go, and the sword flew in an arc, plunging into another guy's heart. The guy, seeing the blade coming, was helpless and died in agony. Seeing death all around them, the remaining guys were terrified. They all wondered if they'd be next. With death staring them in the face, they were broken by the fear of what was to come. They'd planned to attack Lin Yi together, but instead, 2 more of their guys were dead. Half of the original 12 were gone. Jean Lang and Li Deben were also terrified. After what had just happened, they knew there was a massive gap between them and Lin Yi, one that couldn't be crossed. Jean Lang pointed at Lin Yi and said, "You." But he didn't finish the sentence. Lin Yi said, "What? Those 2 deaths had nothing to do with me. If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves." Then he pointed at the ruined shop. "Look, this is a shop I just bought. It's been ruined. Who can live here now?" Li Deben realized he'd been wrong. His initial instinct to avoid Lin Yi had been right. How had he gotten to this point? If he'd known Lin Yi was still alive, he never would have shown his face. He pleaded, "We were wrong. We shouldn't have tried to take your medicine shop. Young master, just name your price. We'll pay whatever you want. No arguments." Lin Yi said, "Oh. Tell me, what kind of compensation can you offer?" Li Deben thought for a moment and said, "Sir, I have a shop on the east end of this street. How about I give you that shop as compensation?" Lin Yi sighed and replied, "I'm traveling light. Why would I need so many shops? It'd just be a burden. Looks like we're out of options. Let's continue." Lin Yi turned to the remaining guys, ready to start identifying them again. They all trembled with fear. Li Deben quickly stopped him. "Sir, wait. We can talk about this." Lin Yi looked at Li Deben without a word. Li Deben gritted his teeth, as if making the biggest decision of his life. He said, "Sir, our gang is called Longba. I'm the leader of the Longba gang, and I'm now offering you my position as leader." This was the most important decision he'd ever made, and the most painful, but he saw no other choice. From what he'd seen, Lin Yi intended to kill them all. And who could blame him? It was greed that had led to this mess. Now, all he could do was hope Lin Yi would take the bait. As soon as he said the words, it was like a massive weight had been lifted. The tension in his body began to fade. Chapter 93 Sensation in Linxian City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Jean Lang heard Li Deben's offer, he was stunned. Give him the gang. The empire he'd built from the ground up. He'd never considered giving it away, not even if he died. Lin Yi hadn't expected this guy to make such a move. What did he need with a mortal gang? But then he figured, maybe it could be useful to keep around. He wouldn't commit to anything just yet. Besides, this dude and his crew hadn't been involved in the assassination attempt. They'd only shown up trying to muscle in on the drugstore after hearing Lin Yi was supposedly dead. Lin Yi didn't see the point in wiping them all out. You sure you won't regret this? Li Daben bowed quickly. Li Daben, reporting for duty, boss. Asterisk whoa there, hold your horses. I haven't agreed to anything yet, starred, you go by Daben, right? Show me who your guys are. Hearing that, Li Daben knew Lin Yi was basically saying yes. He piped up, boss, these three, and that one over there. Li Daben pointed out 4 people, Lin Yi released their pressure points, and the 4 of them could move again. They immediately gathered around Li Daben, protesting, boss, you can't do this. Li Daben said firmly, I've made my decision. Anyone who disobeys will be punished according to gang rules and kicked out of the Longba gang. Boss, but, what are you waiting for? Get over there and salute the new boss. Seeing Li Daben's stubborn face, the 4 seemed resigned to their fate. They turned and bowed to Lin Yi, yelling, greetings, boss. Congratulations on taking over the Longba gang. We swear to obey your orders until we die. May 1,000 arrows pierce our hearts if we disobey. Lin Yi said, hey, no need to get all dramatic. We'll just keep things as they were before. Having dealt with Li Daben's situation, Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time on the Golden Wolf gang. This whole thing had already cost him a night of meditation. Lin Yi turned his gaze to Jean Lang. Jean Lang spat, if you think I'm handing over the gang to you, you're dreaming. Not gonna happen. Lin Yi smiled. Relax. I'm not interested in being a gang leader. But you dared to try and take me out. That's not something you just walk away from. Seeing an opening, Li Daben chimed in, boss, I'll take out the Golden Wolf right now. He grabbed a stick and made to bash Jean Lang's skull in. Lin Yi stopped him. If we start a brawl here, you'll trash the drugstore. Besides, you think you can take him by yourself? Li Daben froze, hanging his head. Boss, sorry. Didn't think that through. Punish me. Looking at Li Daben, Lin Yi said, don't sweat it. I'm not blaming you. I've got a job for you. You don't have to worry about any of these guys. The ones who tried to assassinate me have to die. Anyone who's willing to fall in line will be added to the gang. The rest, disband them on the spot. Anyone who resists, eliminate them. Li Daben bowed, accepting the order. Yes, boss. The Golden Wolf exploded. You spineless moron. How dare you? He knew that without Li Daben standing in his way, no one in the gang could match him. His fate was sealed. Li Daben didn't even look at the Golden Wolf. He already knew how this would end. His decade plus of fighting was over. There would be no more Golden Wolf, and no Golden Wolf gang in Linxian City. Lin Yi didn't want a bloodbath. Most of these guys were just pawns, after all. But the ringleaders, the ones who actually made the hit. They had to go, arg. I'll kill you. The Golden Wolf completely lost it, throwing caution to the wind and charging Lin Yi with his bare hands. Lin Yi blurred into motion, and before the Golden Wolf could even track him, a punch had already landed. Blood trickled from the Golden Wolf's lips. His insides were pulverized, like gold dust. He stopped breathing and tumbled backward. In his final moments, all he felt was regret and resentment. He'd lived by ambition, and he'd died by it too. Li Daben had already taken his leave, leaving behind the remaining 4 members of the Longba gang. They'd always seen the Golden Wolf as an unassailable force, like Li Daben, but seeing him now, helpless against Lin Yi, their respect had been earned. Looking at the remaining members of the Golden Wolf gang, Lin Yi lost all desire to act. He addressed the 4 members of the Longba gang. Drag those 4 out and deal with them. Clean up this mess on your way out. Yes, boss. That the 4 of them accepted the order and left. Asterisk after this little demonstration, I doubt anyone with a brain will mess with me again. Lin Yi thought silently. Those hiding in the shadows were secretly relieved they hadn't been involved. But one gang was in a panic. The next day, the news spread like wildfire through Linxian City. Everyone, young and old, was talking about what had happened the night before. Did you hear? The Golden Wolf gang is gone. One of the toughest crews in town, wiped out. One man said in disbelief, who did this? How can one man bring down a gang like that? Who did the Golden Wolf gang even piss off? Another chimed in, don't you know? I heard the guy's the new owner of the drugstore. Thanks to the waiter's big mouth, everyone knew the drugstore had changed hands. Someone unfamiliar with recent events asked, what's the beef between the Golden Wolf gang and him? What could they have done to bring about such a fate? One of them lowered his voice. I heard from a reliable source that the Golden Wolf gang had their sights set on the drugstore and tried to take out the new owner. Guess they didn't expect him to fight back and take them all out. Another person in the crowd added, that's right. But I also heard the Lomba gang was involved. How come nothing happened to them? Before he could finish, someone in the distance started yelling, big news. I got big news. That he kept shouting the news, until some people lost their patience. What's the news? Spill it already. Yeah, just say it. Can't you see we're all waiting? That the man shouting the news said, hold on. I'll get there in a minute. After hearing this, someone shouted, keep jerking us around and we'll beat you into next week. That the crowd booed. Seeing the situation, he knew he'd lose control if he didn't say something. He yelled to everyone, I'll tell you. The leader of the Lomba gang isn't who you think. It's the owner of the drugstore. The Lomba gang just announced the switch. From here on out, the new boss is the owner of the drugstore. When everyone heard the news, they felt a wave of panic. Who was the owner of the drugstore? First, he took over shopkeeper Tong's business. Now Tong is on the run from some enemies, and nobody knows if he's dead or alive. Then he wiped out the Golden Wolf gang, one of the 4 most powerful gangs in the city, and now he was the leader of the Lomba gang. Each incident was a major event in Linxian city, but these incidents were all related to the drugstore owner. Everyone was curious, did this guy have 3 heads and 6 arms? How else could he be so capable? Lin Yi ignored all the rumors. At that moment, he was stopped by someone he knew. Chapter 94 Journey to the Tomb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Yi skipped the Lomba gang headquarters, just giving a quick explanation at the drugstore and leaving Li Daban in charge. Once renovated, the drugstore would be handed back to the gang to reopen. Lin Yi wandered around town, hoping to stumble upon some useful information when a man grabbed him. Lin, you've caused me a lot of trouble. Lin Yi recognized Ma Hongsheng. He'd almost forgotten about him. Ma, what a coincidence. Ma Hongsheng looked annoyed that Lin Yi wasn't taking it seriously. Coincidence? I've been searching all over Linxian city for you the last few days. You weren't at the inn. The staff said the guy in your room hadn't been back. Lin Yi apologized, sorry, I haven't been back to the inn. That doesn't matter now. Lucky I found you. Today's the deadline. He asked Lin Yi, so, have you thought about my offer? Lin Yi hadn't been that interested, but if the immortal cultivation sect didn't show up, he'd be bored. Might as well go. If he found something, great. If not, it was a trip. He wasn't worried about any tricks, not with his strength. Lin Yi answered, I'm in. I'd like to see something new. Thanks for the invite. Ma Hongsheng was thrilled. With you coming along, this trip will be much easier. Let's meet at the East Gate tomorrow morning and head out. Lin Yi nodded. I'll be there. Ma Hongsheng wrapped things up, I'll see you tomorrow, then. Gotta get some last-minute things arranged. No problem. See you at the East Gate. The two parted ways. Lin Yi looked around the city but found nothing useful, so he returned to the drugstore. The place was buzzing with activity. Lin Yi had given them blueprints to renovate the drugstore, and they were working hard to meet the requirements. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before the renovation was complete. The second floor was being completely revamped to sell high-end potions. Access would be limited to those who spent a certain amount on the first floor. Without a place to stay, Lin Yi had to find somewhere else, but he didn't want to return to the inn. Li Daben offered to have him stay at the gang headquarters, but Lin Yi didn't want all that attention and declined. Li Daben found Lin Yi a quiet place to stay. Lin Yi was pleased. The environment was beautiful and peaceful, perfect for his practice. He was impressed with Li Daben's efficiency and told him he might be out of Linxian city for a few days, so he should handle everything himself. The next day, Lin Yi arrived at the east gate early. Ma Hongxing wasn't there yet. Eventually, Ma Hongxing appeared. He said, "Lin, didn't expect you to be here so early. Sorry to keep you waiting." Lin Yi waved it off. "I just got here." Lin Yi assumed they were leaving, but Ma Hongxing didn't move. "When are we leaving?" Ma Hongxing explained, "A few more people are coming with us." Lin Yi hadn't realized so many were invited, but he didn't mind. He quietly waited. Soon, 3 people arrived. Ma Hongxing addressed the group. "This tomb is dangerous. I've invited you all to work together. Hopefully, we can cooperate and everything will go smoothly. Let me introduce you. This is Wang, this is Li Xiao and Mei Xue, a couple, and this is Lin." Wang was the masked man from before, still wearing the same outfit. Lin Yi noticed a faint energy around him and wondered if he was a cultivator. Li Xiao and Mei Xue were dressed sharply and seemed worldly and experienced. Everyone greeted each other. Wang called Ma Hongxing by his first name. "You didn't say so many people were going." Ma Hongxing replied, "I need to ensure we get back safely. There's safety in numbers. If we find treasure, how will it be divided?" Lin Yi wasn't too concerned, but Li Xiao and his wife were. If the treasure couldn't be split fairly, what was the point? Ma Hongxing saw everyone staring at him. "I don't know what's in the tomb. I have 2 options for distributing the treasure. First, we can divide the treasures equally by value. If there's a discrepancy, we can compensate with money. Second, we can divide it based on each person's contribution, prioritizing those who do more." Ma Hongxing asked, "Which option do you choose?" Wang immediately spoke up. "The second option is most reasonable. More effort, more reward." Li Xiao and his wife hesitated, then decided, the first option is better, so nobody gets shortchanged. Wang scoffed, trying to leech off others. "You think you'll get anything worthwhile? Dream on." Li Xiao and his wife glared at Wang. "Don't assume we're trying to leech off anyone." Wang retorted, "Maybe. But I know what I saw." Seeing the argument brewing, Ma Hongxing jumped in. "There are 5 of us. Let's vote and go with the majority." "Sound good." Nobody objected, so Ma Hongxing asked Lin Yi, "What's your choice?" Lin Yi was just along for the ride and didn't care about the treasure. After thinking it over, he chose the work-based distribution. It was now 2-2, making Ma Hongxing's vote crucial. All eyes were on him, awaiting his decision. Chapter 95 Venomous snakes are rampant in Funiu Mountain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing everyone staring, Ma Hongxing said without much hesitation, "Let's go for the one that takes the most work first." Li Xiao and his wife were bummed by Ma Hongxing's answer, but they agreed to the plan anyway. Seeing he got his way, Daoist Wang urged, "All right, let's not waste any more time. Lead the way." Ma Hongxing led the group toward the tomb. Wang said impatiently, "Hey, Ma Hongxing, how much longer? You've been leading us in circles. Are you messing with us?" Even though they'd set out, Ma Hongxing kept leading everyone around, as if he was confirming something. When he saw no one was following too closely, he said, "Don't worry, we're almost there." Then he led them toward a mountain range. This was a mountain range near Linxian city, called Funiu Mountain by the locals. Before long, they reached the edge of Funiu Mountain. Ma Hongxing said, "The tomb's inside Funiu Mountain. Watch out for snakes and wild animals, especially the snakes. They're deadly, so be careful." Wang waved him off. "Snakes. They're just reptiles. What's to be afraid of?" Ma Hongxing knew the guy's personality, so he just led everyone deeper into the mountains. The further they went, the slower their progress. The Funiu Mountains were choked with thick thorns. It took a few people to hack a path forward. Venomous snakes hid among the thorns, invisible to the naked eye. There were a few close calls, but they managed to avoid getting bitten. By now, everyone believed Ma Hongsheng. The snakes were the real danger, and you never knew when one would strike. Even Wang started being cautious. They were getting deeper and deeper, losing sight of where they'd come from. Venomous snakes were everywhere. Danger lurked around every corner. They hadn't brought any anti-venom. If someone got bitten, they were probably done for, and this was before they even reached the tomb. Who knew what horrors awaited them inside? People started getting worried and on edge. Li Xiao said, "You should have given us a heads up, so we could have prepared." "What happens if someone gets bitten?" Ma Hongsheng said, "I didn't want word getting out and causing problems." He pulled a few bottles from his pocket. "I've got snake repellent. Just rub it on, and they'll stay away. I don't have many bottles. I'll let you have them cheap, 500 silver each." Seeing Ma Hongsheng produce the medicine, Li Xiao figured he'd hand it out. Asking 500 silver each? Li Xiao scoffed, "You're taking advantage of us. This stuff isn't worth that much." Ma Hongsheng replied, "This isn't ordinary repellent. It's specially made. Way better than the stuff you can buy, so it's worth every penny." He paused. "Like I said, I don't have much, so I'm just doing you a favor. Buy it or don't. Your call." Li Xiao was stuck. He knew the guy was full of it, but he had no choice. Gotta stay alive, right? He coughed up 1,000 silver for 2 bottles. Ma Hongsheng looked at Wang. Wang said calmly, "I'm good." He pulled out a bottle and sprayed himself. He probably had his own repellent. Finally, Ma Hongsheng looked at Lin Yi, but he didn't move. Lin Yi just shook his head. Lin Yi had a spiritual sense. He could see every twitch of grass nearby, so no snake could sneak up on him, but so as not to arouse suspicion, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a bottle, which he'd actually taken from his storage bag. Seeing that these two had come prepared, Li Xiao and his wife said to Ma Hongsheng, annoyed, "That's not fair. You let them know, but didn't say anything to us." Ma Hongsheng protested, "I didn't tell them anything. You're accusing me of something I didn't do. Ask them." Li Xiao looked at Wang and Lin Yi. Neither of them said anything, and judging from their expressions, they didn't know anything either. So that was that, and they kept moving toward the tomb. With the repellent, the snakes left them alone. They didn't have to watch their backs every second, and they moved much faster. Everyone took turns clearing the path. About half a day passed. They were deep in the Funiu Mountains, and they couldn't have said exactly where. There were too many turns. Even if they'd tried to memorize the route, they were lost now. The road was still thorny, and Wang complained again, "How much longer, Ma Hongsheng? We should be there by now." Ma Hongsheng tried to placate him. "We're close. Just be patient." Sure enough, before long, Ma Hongsheng announced, "The tomb's just ahead." After pushing through the thorns, they found a small hillside, hidden deep in the Funiu Mountains. The location was exposed. How come no one had found it before? Looking at the hillside, Wang pointed. "This it?" Ma Hongsheng nodded. "The tomb's inside." "So where do we go in?" Ma Hongsheng replied, "According to the records, there's an entrance around here. You have to go through the entrance to reach the actual tomb. Otherwise, finding the tomb chamber would be like finding a needle in a haystack." Wang glared at Ma Hongsheng. "You're saying you don't know where the real tomb is? You're jerking me around." Looking at the guy's outburst, Ma Hongsheng said, "We can find the chamber from here. Right now, we need to find the entrance, not waste time arguing about nothing." "Fine, fine. If you don't find the entrance, you're gonna pay." Ma Hongsheng ignored him and said, "Everyone, start searching around the hillside." And with that, everyone started looking. Lin Yi looked at the hillside. Something about it felt off, but he couldn't put his finger on it. He looked around for a while, but found nothing. He expanded his spiritual sense and checked every inch of the hillside, not missing anything, but after a thorough search, he still came up empty. The others were still searching, but no one noticed that Lin Yi had already checked everything. Lin Yi studied the hillside carefully. He couldn't see much on the surface, but what about underground? He'd never used his spiritual sense to search underground. He didn't even know if he could. With that thought, Lin Yi slowly probed his spiritual consciousness into the ground. To his surprise, it worked. He could sense things deep below. Lin Yi was amazed, like he'd discovered a whole new world. Chapter 96 Clues Emerge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Yi kept probing the ground with his senses, but he could only go down about a yard before hitting a wall. He started searching the area, hoping to find something. After scouring more than half the hillside, he was losing hope, but he kept at it. The others looked around too, but everyone seemed disappointed. A guy named Wang piped up, "Ma Hongsheng, why didn't you give us the full story? We're wasting our time here." "What's your excuse?" Ma Hongsheng, already frustrated, snapped back. "First, I'm convinced the information I got is legit. The tomb entrance is here somewhere, we just haven't found it yet. That doesn't mean it's not here. Second, I invited you guys, but you've been nothing but trouble. And finally, I didn't force anyone. You all came of your own free will." He finished with, "If you're not feeling it, you're free to leave. Nobody's stopping you." Wang grumbled, "If you'd been upfront about the situation, I could have made a better call and wouldn't have wasted my time." Ma Hongxing scoffed, "Even if I had, you'd still have come, wouldn't you?" "You." Wang trailed off. He knew Ma Hongxing was right. Even with a slim chance, he would have jumped at it. You gotta fight for opportunity, and one lucky break can change everything. Now, he just wanted to complain. Ma Hongxing addressed the group. "Look at Lin Yi, he's still searching. The info I have is rock solid, the tomb entrance is here. Nobody wants to go home empty-handed, right? If this tomb was easy to find, someone else would have snagged it already. Let's keep looking. We must be missing something." While they were arguing, Lin Yi had covered most of the hillside, but hadn't found anything. He was losing hope that he would find something. The deeper he probed, the more energy it took. Luckily, he felt his senses were getting sharper, probably from the mysterious beads reacting to the spiritual energy he had absorbed from the stones. It seemed like everything was connected to that spiritual energy. Spiritual stones were good. Those things must be rare in the cultivation world. Lost in thought, Lin Yi's senses picked up something different. A stone slab. Why was there a huge slab down there, and with carvings? The decorations were intricate, with what looked like dragons and phoenixes. It looked like it was important. He couldn't be sure it was the tomb entrance, but it was something. Lin Yi sighed. If he'd started searching from that direction, he would have found it sooner. Maybe it was just fate. He couldn't just tell everyone about the slab. How would he explain finding a stone almost a yard underground? Lin Yi pretended to stomp around for 10 minutes, slowly moving towards the spot above the slab and testing the ground with his feet. The others ignored him. As long as he could find the entrance to the tomb, then he made a sound, "Huh." The others perked up, and Ma Hongxing asked quickly, "Lin Yi, did you find something?" Lin Yi looked at Ma Hongxing and nodded. "The ground sounds a little different here." The others felt like they'd been in the dark for a long time and were finally seeing light. Excited, they crowded around. "Right here?" they asked, pointing at the ground. Lin Yi nodded. They stomped around like Lin Yi had, but they didn't feel anything different. Ma Hongxing asked, "Lin Yi, are you sure it feels different?" Lin Yi said, "My senses have always been sharper than most people. From the sounds, this spot is slightly different, but I can't be certain." That was the truth. He wasn't sure it was the tomb entrance, and he wasn't sure it felt different from other places. It was up to them how they interpreted it. Everyone seemed deflated. The excitement dropped. It was rough. Wang glared at Lin Yi. "Why get us all excited about something you're not even sure about? You got our hopes up for nothing." Lin Yi shot back, "Then you figure it out and make everyone happy." Wang spluttered angrily, "Did I say something wrong?" Lin Yi said, "Let me ask you, what have you contributed so far? All I hear is you complaining." Wang was speechless. Lin Yi was annoyed by him, but he couldn't ignore him. The energy radiating off him was strange. Ma Hongxing cut in. Enough, turning to the group, he said, we don't have anything else to go on. Let's treat this like a last resort. I'm betting that Lin Yi is onto something. We should start digging here. Someone else said, we don't have any tools, we'll have to dig with our hands. Ma Hongxing glared and snapped, shut up. The others ignored him and started looking for things they could use to dig. Soon, they had gathered everything they could find. Everyone started digging. Wang, looking awkward, started digging too. You know, if we had the right tools, we wouldn't be struggling so much. Whenever Lin Yi heard Wang's voice, he wanted to tell him to shut up. It was either useless talk or irritating. How did Ma Hongxing find this guy? Thinking about Ma Hongxing, maybe things weren't as simple as they seemed. He had found Lin Yi and was determined to have him come along. Why was he so sure? And although Wang was annoying, he wasn't an ordinary guy. Was his behavior genuine? Chapter 97 Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As for the other two, Lin Yi still didn't know why Ma Hongxing had invited them. What did Ma Hongxing see in them, anyway? Working together, they quickly uncovered the stone slab. Bingo! Wang, the guy with the last name Wang, exclaimed, jumping down. There really is something here. Looks like Lin Yi's got a knack for this prediction stuff. The others shot him a look. What were you saying before, Wang? Li Xiao needled him. Wang wasn't even embarrassed. Saying what? I don't remember saying anything. Li Xiao just gave him a thumbs up. Color me impressed. With a glimmer of hope now, everyone was in a much better mood and let the earlier ribbing slide. Alright, Wang, climb back up, Ma Hongxing said. Let's clear the surrounding dirt while we still have daylight. This time, Wang didn't argue and hauled himself out. They all dug in again, clearing away the soil. The prospect of success had invigorated them all. Before long, the entire stone slab was exposed. It was a long rectangle, maybe 10 feet long and 6 feet wide, with one narrow end leaning against the hillside. Seeing the whole slab, Wang couldn't restrain himself. He rushed over, grabbed one end, and tried to lift, but it wouldn't budge. He strained and heaved, but the slab stayed put. Finally, defeated, he dropped his head. The others watched him, finding the whole display both irritating and amusing, but nobody laughed. All eyes were on the slab now. Was it really that heavy? One by one, the others gave it a shot, with the same result. Maybe one person isn't strong enough, Ma Hongxing suggested. Let's all lift together. Everyone nodded. Getting the slab open was the top priority, but even with all 5 of them straining, the stone slab remained unyielding. A wave of silent worry washed over them. They were pretty sure the tomb entrance was right here, but they couldn't quite get to the prize. Any ideas? Ma Hongxing asked. How about we try weapons? That it was Wang who spoke up. Everyone glanced at the sword at Wang's side. Hey, Wang, why don't you try your sword? Maybe you can split it open. Wang clutched his sword protectively. Why don't you guys try your weapons first? He retorted, stepping back. Lin Yi spoke up. Wang, didn't you argue for dividing up the treasure based on effort? Well, here's your chance. If you crack this slab, imagine how big your share would be. He paused and winked. Right? The others chimed in. Yeah, Wang, put up or shut up. Wang was kicking himself. Why did he have to open his big mouth? He'd meant to goad them into breaking the slab, and now it had backfired, but with everyone staring at him, he couldn't weasel out of it. Gritting his teeth, he drew his sword and trudged over to the slab. Lin Yi added, Wang, put some oomph into it, okay? Wang glared at Lin Yi. I know what I'm doing, alright. Lin Yi just shrugged. Hey, just trying to help. Why waste extra effort when one good swing will do it? Right? That did it. Wang's face flushed with anger. Can you just shut up? He snarled. The others chuckled, finally understanding how Wang's comments felt. Ma Hongxing said, just focus on the slab, Wang. We'll leave you to it. Li Xiao and his wife nodded in agreement. Lin Yi, having gotten his digs in, didn't press it. He just nodded too. Wang swung his sword. The blade scraped against the stone with a screech, sending sparks flying. Everyone peered at the point of impact. A tiny scratch was all he'd managed to make. A wave of disappointment swept over them, but they tried to sound encouraging. "Hey, you made a mark. Just keep at it, you'll get there." They eyed his sword. "That's some blade you got there, Wang. Slab's hard as nails, but the sword's still in good shape." Hearing praise for his sword, Wang perked up. He stroked the blade and said with a sneer, "Slate. This is way better." That's right," the others said in unison. "Keep at it, Wang." Wang glowered. "You." Lin Yi cut him off. "Hey, I don't have any weapons, so I can't really chop at it myself. I could use my hands, but I'm afraid friend Wang can't wait." The others offered their own reasons for why they couldn't do it, praising Wang's sword as the only thing capable of cracking the slab. Wang had no choice but to keep hacking away, but the progress was glacial, and he started to get antsy. Someone suggested, "Hey, how about we take turns? It'll go faster." The mere suggestion of others touching his precious sword sent shivers down his spine. "Absolutely not," he declared. The vehemence of his response took everyone by surprise. "We're not trying to steal it, Wang. We just want to take turns so we can get the slab open faster," one of them explained. He gestured towards the slab. "At the rate you're going, it'll be dark before you even make a dent. We don't know what things are like in the Funiu Mountains at night. There may be huge dangers, so we should enter as soon as possible before dark." His resolve wavered. He knew that continuing to hack away alone could take forever. And even if he managed to break through, he'd be exhausted. How would he compete for treasure later? He ground his teeth. "Fine, you can hold the sword for a little bit, but anyone who tries to pull a fast one is going to regret it. I guarantee it." Ma Hongsheng looked around at the others. "Anyone who tries to screw him over will have to answer to me, too." Chapter 98: A Sudden Knife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone took turns using Wang Daoyou's knife. Wang watched them, ready to jump in if anyone messed up. When Lin Yi took the knife from Li Xiao, he saw it was indeed a great weapon, tough and sharp. He wondered what it was made of. It seemed Wang having it made him extraordinary, but it only held Lin Yi's attention briefly. No matter how good it was nowhere near his Xiang sword. Everyone took turns hacking, and the process sped up considerably. Soon, a deep crack appeared in the stone slab. Success felt close. After hours, the slab finally cracked open with one final strike. The 5 of them rushed forward, pushing the broken pieces aside to reveal a hole. Finally, they were elated. After all their hard work, it was time to reap the rewards. They could barely contain their eagerness to find the treasure. Beyond the hole, they found a hidden lock on the back of the slab. It could only be opened from the inside. No wonder they couldn't lift it. But who locked it? He didn't dwell on it. Just as everyone focused on the cave, Wang suddenly stabbed Li Xiao in the back. The sudden attack startled everyone, and they jumped back, drawing their weapons. Lin Yi hadn't expected Wang's sudden attack either. He'd been so caught up in opening the cave that he'd let his guard down. If Wang had attacked him, he'd be sweating bullets right now. Never let your guard down, especially at the crucial moment. Lin Yi reminded himself. Li Xiao turned, blood trickling from his mouth, and gasped, "Why?" Then, he collapsed, unfulfilled. He and his wife had come to the disciple recruitment ceremony full of hope, to become immortals, a godly couple. Now, a piercing scream echoed. "Husband!" Meingxue threw herself on Li Xiao, unable to process what she was seeing. Wang raised the knife, ready for another strike. Ma Hongsheng pointed at him. "Don't move." Wang looked at Ma Hongsheng. "Now that the cave's open, and there are fewer of us, that means a bigger share for everyone else. You should be thanking me. Besides, they were useless. Why should they get any of the treasure?" Lin Yi said coldly. "You don't even know if there is a treasure, and you're already killing people. If you see it, are you going to kill us all? Seeing the two men staring him down, Wang wasn't sure he could take them both. He said, Li Xiao's dead, and she's his wife. I can't let her live. She has to die to avoid trouble later. Mei Yingxue suddenly grabbed Li Xiao and rushed into the cave, screaming, you'll pay for this. Lin Yi was speechless. I didn't kill him, so what does that have to do with me? And what's with the taking him with me thing? Seeing Mei Yingxue rush into the tomb, Wang immediately gave chase, shouting, you can't escape. With the two gone, Lin Yi and Ma Hongxing started towards the cave themselves. But now everyone was wary, keeping their distance. Inside, the tomb passage wasn't completely dark, but rather brightly lit. Sparkling gems were set into the walls at intervals, illuminating the way. After about 100 yards, the tunnel split into many forks. It was impossible to know which were real, which were fake, and where they led. Now, it was just Lin Yi and Ma Hongxing. Wang and Mei Yingxue had disappeared, no one knew which path they'd taken. Ma Hongxing asked, which way will you go, Daoist Lin? Lin Yi looked at the maze of paths, then at Ma Hongxing, and shook his head, indicating he had no idea. Unsurprised, Ma Hongxing said, shall we stick together, or split up and take different forks? Lin Yi didn't answer directly. Any suggestions, Daoist Ma? Ma Hongxing considered it. Nobody knows which entrance is the real one. We have to search one by one. To speed things up, we could each take a different path. If it's a dead end, we can backtrack quickly and save time. What do you think, Daoist Lin? Lin Yi didn't reveal his thoughts. After a moment, he said, okay. Hearing Lin Yi's agreement, Ma Hongxing said quickly, then let's not waste any more time. If either of us finds the real tomb, we'll come back and mark it to let the other know. Lin Yi nodded and stood still. Ma Hongxing saw Lin Yi wasn't moving and asked, why haven't you started yet? Lin Yi looked at Ma Hongxing. I'm just trying to decide which passage to start with. It might take a while. Seeing that Lin Yi wasn't going anywhere, Ma Hongxing decided not to waste any more time. Since you need to think about it, I'll pick one first. Go ahead, Daoist Ma. I'll start as soon as I've made up my mind, no time wasted. Ma Hongxing nodded, said nothing more, turned, and disappeared down one of the forks, but Lin Yi's spiritual sense followed him. Because Lin Yi knew 100% sure that this was the entrance to the tomb. He wanted to distract Lin Yi and talk nonsense. Shortly after entering the passage, Ma Hongxing hid in the shadows, watching to see if anyone was following him. Lin Yi saw all of this clearly. After waiting a while and seeing no one coming, he emerged from the darkness and continued forward, but still darted around corners, glancing behind him from time to time. He kept going until he was far enough that he was sure no one was following him. Then, Ma Hongxing grinned. Two birds with one stone. Only he knew what the two birds were. He quickened his pace, eager to reach the tomb. Little did he know, Lin Yi had been following him all along. Seeing Ma Hongxing speed up, Lin Yi also picked up his pace. They were going pretty far in at this point. Who had dug these passages in this deep mountain? In the past, Lin Yi would have found it incredible. Even now, it was hard to believe. This didn't happen overnight. He continued forward, twisting and turning, unsure of where he was. Suddenly, Ma Hongxing ran forward, shouting, we're finally here. Chapter 99. Finally arriving at the tomb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the end of the passage, the tunnel opened into a small clearing. Weird stone figures, shaped like people, horses, and snakes, stood in a circle around a massive stone door. This thick door blocked their path, the apparent final obstacle before entering the tomb itself. Ma Hongxing studied the door intently, then suddenly called out, all right, come on out. I know you're there. Lin Yi, hidden in the shadows, initially thought he'd been discovered, but quickly realized it was impossible. He'd maintained his distance, always staying out of sight. Chu Miaoyin had mentioned that only monks at foundation establishment level or higher possessed spiritual awareness. Ma Hongxing was clearly not that advanced, so he couldn't possibly know Lin Yi was there. It was probably just a bluff. Lin Yi remained still, using his own spiritual sense to observe Ma Hongxing's every move. When no one appeared, Ma Hongxing tried again, no need to hide. I've already found you. A figure emerged from behind one of the stone statues, fellow Daoist Wang. Well, Wang said. How did fellow Daoist Ma know I was here? Lin Yi was surprised. He'd been so focused on Ma Hongxing that he hadn't sensed Wang's presence. Ma Hongxing hadn't actually expected anyone to be there, he'd just been testing. But he decided to play it cool. Humph, he said, feigning insight. You think you're so clever, hiding from the outside world? But nothing escapes my notice. Wang regretted his impulsive reveal. He'd arrived before the others and was certain he'd left no trace. He'd been tricked, he scoffed. Looks like I fell for your little game. Now that I'm here, what do you want? Wang asked. You looking for a fight? Ma Hongxing fixed him with a stare. I invited you to join this treasure hunt. I have no intention of killing anyone to keep the rewards for myself. Wang burst out laughing. Ha! Don't know about killing people. That's a good one, but you can't fool me. He paused, then asked, where's your buddy Lin Yi? The one following you? Wang glanced around, feigning surprise. You didn't kill him already, did you? Humph, you think everyone's like you? Lin Yi and I just took different routes. I happened to pick the right one, the real passage. I was planning to go back and get him. I admire your concern, Wang said sarcastically. Keep telling yourself that, you might actually believe it. He pulled a map from his robes and held it up. Ha! You didn't expect this, did you? I also got a map of the tomb. Too bad it didn't show the entrance. Guess you found that yourself. Call it fate. Ma Hongxing eyed the map. Even without the entrance, the map lays out the inside of the tomb. By now, your friend Lin might be worm food. Wang pointed to the map. See these fake passages? Packed with traps and poisonous snakes. No one gets through that, Ma Hongxing, I gotta hand it to you, I admire your methods. Seeing his scheme exposed, Ma Hongxing dropped the pretense. Alright, Wang, let's cut the crap. Are you looking for a fight? No. I know better than to take you on alone. But don't think you can kill me easy. Ma Hongxing raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Wang glared. Want to test that? The tension hung thick in the air. Then, Ma Hongxing said, Wang, since it's just us, there's enough treasure inside for both of us. Why fight to the death? Besides, he added, whatever treasures we find here are nothing compared to becoming immortals. Once we get to the immortal realm, we'll be swimming in riches. Wang looked surprised. How do you know we'll even be chosen? Ma Hongxing didn't answer directly. Secret. So that's what this is about, Wang said. You invited me here for a reason, picked the four of us for something special. Ma Hongxing stared at him. No comment. Wang shrugged. Alright. Neither of us wants to kill each other, so let's just open the door, grab the treasure, and get out of here. Wang didn't press the issue. Everyone had their secrets, and he wasn't about to risk a fight he might not win. Good. He reached for the stone door, clap, star. Clap, star. Clap, star. The sound of clapping echoed through the tomb, the silence shattered. Who's there? They both drew their weapons, facing the entrance tunnel where the sound came from. The clapping grew louder, and a figure emerged, approaching them. In unison, they exclaimed, You're not dead. Surprised? Didn't expect that, did you? Lin Yi smirked. He looked around. So, Daoist Ma knew all along that the side passage really leads to the tomb. Ma Hongxing glared at Lin Yi. You've been following me. How much did you hear? Oh, the bit about the fake passage being full of poisonous snakes and traps. Something like that. I actually trusted you, Ma. Looks like you were trying to kill me. Lin Yi paused, then continued, we just met. I've done nothing to wrong you. Why try to murder me? Seriously, Ma, fill me in. Wang added, yeah, what's the deal? Ma Hongxing stared at them both. And if I don't tell you? What are you going to do about it? Heh, Wang smiled. One-on-one, I wasn't sure about taking you down. But now that Lin Yi's here, and the fact that you wanted to kill him shows you know he's got something going for him. The two of us together can definitely handle you. Wang raised his knife. Ma Hongxing hadn't expected Lin Yi to survive, much less that he'd been so careful. Lin Yi was able to follow him without being seen. Facing both of them, he was at a serious disadvantage. He had to try and appease one of them. He turned to Wang. Wang, I'm doing this for both our sakes. Oh. How so? I'm all ears. Ma Hongxing knew he had to offer a convincing explanation. He pulled a jade pendant from his robes. I found this in a cave. According to the inscription left by the cave's owner, the pendant can detect individuals with strong cultivation potential. The better the potential, the stronger the reaction. I invited the four of you based on this jade pendant. Chapter 100 The Strongest in the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You four have the strongest potential here. Ma Hongxing glanced at the guy named Wang. You know how picky the cultivation sects are when they recruit. Spots are super limited. So far, you four are the most promising. Your chances are way better than anyone else's. Which means others will try to knock you out of the running to boost their own odds. Now, if we team up and take him out, Wang here's got no competition and is a lock to get picked by a cultivation sect. My own talents are a bit lacking, but once we get rid of the front runners, I'm sure I'll be good enough. Everyone dreams of enlightenment and immortality, Wang included. Becoming the top candidate in this bunch? He'd be headhunted by the best sects, maybe even get to pick and choose. Wang considered this, and Ma Hongxing's words started to sink in. Seeing Wang's hesitation, Ma Hongxing pressed on. Think about it, Wang. If you're the star of this recruitment, every sect will be throwing offers at you. Your path to immortality? Smooth sailing. That's exactly what Wang was thinking. Okay, I know you're just trying to get me to help you kill him, but I can't deny, immortality is worth it. Hearing Wang's agreement, Ma Hongxing grinned. You won't regret this, pal. Then, turning to Lin Yi, he said, sorry, bud. 2 against 1 now. It's just you and me. Doesn't the world turn fast? If you had just stayed hidden, you might have saved your skin and had a shot at the recruitment. Too bad. What a waste. Regretting your choices yet? Lin Yi just stared back, blank-faced. Do you know what happens to people who try to kill me? Ma Hongxing chuckled. Oh, tell me, what's gonna happen to me? Lin Yi said, I hear the fake passage is crawling with poisonous snakes and traps. Sounds perfect for you. How do you like that venue I picked? Ma Hongxing shuddered dramatically. Ooh, scary. Then, even if it's always night in the tomb, don't get ahead of yourself. He pointed at Lin Yi, then at Wang. You think Wang and I are like those bartenders you dealt with? We're stone cold sober. Wang smirked. Consider this a parting gift, a chance to live a little longer. Time to meet your maker. With a flick of his wrist, Ma Hongxing unsheathed a slender sword. It looked like a real beauty. It was the first time he'd shown his weapon. He told Lin Yi, you're lucky to die by my dragon sword. He lunged at Lin Yi. At the same time, he called out, Wang, if you don't jump in now, you'll miss your chance. Wang, spurred into action, used footwork to join the attack. Lin Yi saw that their movements were way more refined than Zhongji's. These guys knew their stuff. Looks like these two are destined to have the best skills and weapons. With some luck, they have become the top martial arts masters in the world at a young age. The moment Wang moved, Lin Yi understood the faint aura around him. His potential was off the charts. His body had been passively absorbing energy for years, but since he didn't know how to cultivate, the energy just saturated his meridians and spilled out. This just proves how talented Wang is. Too bad he fell for Ma Hongxing's lies. In an instant, they were on Lin Yi. Seeing him just standing there, they were suspicious, but only for a moment. If he was going to make it easy for them, why complain? Ma Hongxing grinned. Looks like you know when you're beat. Don't worry, I promise to leave you in one piece. The sword was inches from Lin Yi's chest. The next moment they thought Lin Yi would definitely die. Lin Yi used the wind step to skillfully avoid the attacks of the two men. The attacks of the knives and swords only hit an afterimage of Lin Yi. The attacks failed. Ma Hongxing and Wang exchanged shocked glances. He dodged two top masters at point-blank range. And they didn't even see how. Just a blur, then he was gone. Lin Yi's footwork was on another level. Their expressions turned serious. Ma Hongxing, looking at Lin Yi, said, "Damn, your moves are slicker than I thought. I underestimated you, big time." Lin Yi said nonchalantly, "Thanks for the compliment, but my offer still stands." Ma Hongxing didn't let his confidence waver. "Don't get cocky. You think a fancy footwork is enough to beat us? You're in for a surprise." Lin Yi grinned. "When did I ever say I admired you, Ma?" Then he said, "To me, you're no different than ants." They glared at Lin Yi. "Easy to say. We'll see how you fare in a real fight." Lin Yi gestured for them to come at him. "This is the first time I've used my wandering dragon sword technique in public. Hope you can keep up." Turning to Wang, he added, "I know you're holding back too, Wang. Now's the time to go all in." Wang, still serious, didn't look at Ma Hongxing. "I don't need your advice." Ma Hongxing raised the flying dragon sword and cranked his footwork to the max. His strength was obviously far better than he'd let on. He wasn't just a little worse, he was way better. Wang, for his part, didn't use a known sword technique. The blade shone, and he slashed, a bolt of light heading straight for Lin Yi. Ma Hongxing hadn't expected Wang's attack to pack so much power. Even his strongest move wouldn't be much stronger than this. Besides, he had no idea if this was Wang's strongest move. Facing such a strong attack, the two of them thought to themselves, "Let's see how Lin Yi can escape this time."